Hello, welcome back to our Thursday guest lecture series. Today is guest lecture number 46. Today we have a very special topic, Bodhicaryāvatāra, a guide to cultivate Bodhicitta by Ashutosh Kadam. And in this, Ashutosh was also speaking with us last week. So I think you are already familiar with him. And Ashutosh has undergrad, postgraduate, and many other qualifications that we already have discussed about his credentials last week. So I think without much details, I would like to invite Ashutosh to the studio. Hello, Ashutosh. Thank you for joining us again, and I really appreciate. I think a lot of people also really liked your lecture last time. I saw many people were commenting, and
Yes.
I hope this particular topic, Bodhicaryāvatāra. When I was a Samanera monk, I remember actually I also studied the Bodhicaryāvatāra. By Ashoghosha, and that's an amazingly powerful Sanskrit text where we see the powerful practices of generosity, loving kindness, and that parartha charya, what we call like that selfless act for the benefit of others, how those great bodhisattvas sacrifice for the benefit, well-being, and happiness of the others. Even the Buddha's first advice to the monks, the 60 disciples, was Charata bhikkhave charikang bahujana hitaya, bahujana sukhaya, athaya hitaya deva manusanang. So the Buddha said, monks, you have to go forward. Work for the well-being and happiness of the many, for the benefit of the many, not only humans, but also Deva, celestial beings. So seen and unseen, all sentient beings, you need to walk all the way and all the time and just help them. So I think the Bodhicaryāvatāra, like Bodhicharya, is something, Charya Avatara. I hope you can also explain a little bit about that there. That talks about everything, like the Bodhi is the enlightenment, Charya is the character, the behavior, right? And so how someone cultivate Bodhicitta through this. Would you like to begin with some introduction?
Yes, Bante. I'll do my best to clarify the concept Bodhicitta through Bodhicaryāvatāra. So let's start our presentation.
Okay.
So let's start. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. So today's topic is Bodhicaryāvatāra, a guide to cultivate Bodhicitta. How the text guide us to cultivate the Bodhicitta. So let's go to introduction. The Bodhicaryāvatāra is a text composed by Shantideva. There was a monk, Shantideva, an Indian monk around 8th century CE from Nalanda University on developing Bodhicitta. He taught the Bodhicaryāvatāra, mainly concerned about cultivating, developing, the Bodhicitta. In this presentation, we are going to learn the structure and the teachings of the Bodhicaryāvatāra, how the text was, and furthermore, how the text was disseminated from India to Tibet, the basic concept of Bodhicitta, and we will go through the basic concept of the Bodhicitta, and practices were developed afterwards in Tibet regarding the cultivation, the development, and the rated practices of Bodhicitta. How Tibetans understand this Bodhicaryāvatāra and how they interpreted the text, we will go through. We will discuss how Tibetan interpreted the text. There is one small quote from Shantideva in his Bodhicaryāvatāra. This is from his first lesson. He say he pay respect to the Buddha, and he sees Buddha as the thunderbolt, as when a flash of lightning rends the night, and in its glare shows all the dark black clouds had hid. Likewise, rarely through the Buddha's power, virtuous thought arise, brief, transient in the world. Okay, this is our author. This is the author named Acharya Shantideva. Name is Shantideva. Shantideva was born in south of India, not very south, but very central or in Gujarat, you can say, in a place called Saurashtra. His father was King Kalyana Varnam, and his given name was Shanti Varnam. During his youth, he met a wandering yogi who gave him teachings on the Tikshna Manjushri sadhana, and through his practice, he established a strong connection with the Bodhisattva Manjushri and attained a high level of realization. He went to the monastic university of Nalanda, where he became a monk under Jayadeva, who was the head of the 500 Panditas at Nalanda. It was at that time he was given the name Shantideva. Although Shantideva had these great qualities of realization and renunciation, he remained in Nalanda without doing anything outwardly. He has great potential, but he is not showing. He is not doing any show up there. He remained there, uh, a normal person. To the other students, right? He seems to be the laziest person there. Others see him as a laziest person because he's not doing anything. He's not teaching. He's not conducting any lectures or any other thing. He just eat, sleep. That's all. That is why they called him as a Busuku. Busuku. Busuku comes from the Bu comes from the Bhukta, which means eating. Su comes from the Susta, which means sleeping. And Ku comes from the Kuchiva, which means just walking. So Busuku means is one who just eats, sleeps, and goes out to the toilet. That's one. And the ordinary students perceives him as a lazy person who just eats, sleep, that's all, and just walk for going to toilet, that's all. Some students of the university thought that we will drive him away. We will do something that he embarrassed and he will run away from the Nalanda University. So they try their best to embarrass Shantideva, but eventually they fail to do so. Shantideva, those students, uh, those students who wants him to get rid of him, they planned that we should organize a lecture, and Shanti Deva eventually uh, give lectures there, and they know that uh, because of his nature he will not teach anything, and the university will claim that the monk is very ignorant, and maybe he will get scolded by any other teacher, and because of that embarrassment he will run away from the university. So they make one a big throne for him, and those students invited everyone, and they advertised that the Shanti Deva is going to teach something new, please attend his lectures. And they just one moment. Yes, sorry. Yes, and eventually the Shanti Deva sit on that throne and recited the Bodhicaryāvatāra from its memory, and he asked the audience, what do you wanted to learn? Do you want to learn something old, something already you are heard of, or you wanted to learn something new? So all the students say that we wanted to learn something new. Then he started reciting the Bodhicaryāvatāra, which is new, composed by him. And it is said that many people saw Manjushri in the sky above his head as he recited the text. Legend has it that when Shantideva reached the 34th verse of the ninth chapter, the ninth chapter belongs to the Prashna Paramita section, talks about Prashna Paramita, dedicated to Prashna Paramita. And when he was uh, reciting the ninth chapter, the 34th verse, which is the most difficult part of the book, he and the Manjushri levitated off the ground and rose up higher and higher into the air until they disappeared. That is why the photo, the slide number one, shows he flying on the sky while reciting the Bodhicaryāvatāra when he was reciting the 9.34 verse, and he disappeared. Shantideva's voice could still be heard until he finished the teachings. Shantideva written three books. The Siksha Samucchay, second is the Sutra Samucchay, and the third one is the Bodhicaryāvatāra. The Siksha Samucchay is very the long one. Sutra Samucchay is the short one, but Bodhicaryāvatāra is said to be his middle length text. That is why he gives something middle length, which is of medium length. The Bodhicaryāvatāra was written for all beings generally, but especially for these 500 Panditas of Nalanda University to show them the genuine path of Bodhisattva. Uh, that is the main theme of this this book to show them the path of Bodhisattva, the way of Bodhisattva. That is the meaning of Bodhicaryāvatāra, the path of Bodhisattva. It is said that there were 108 commentaries written on the Bodhicaryāvatāra in India. Yeah. In India only 108 commentaries were written on this book, and Tibet written from their side commentaries in Tibetan. Let's see the structure of the text. The text consists of 10 chapters with 914 verses. There are total 914 verses. But some commentary says that the Bodhicaryāvatāra has 1000, nearly 1000, I think more than 1000 verses. Uh, but some teachers firmly say that there are only 914 verses divided into 10 chapters. Tibetans, especially Tibetans, like to express the text with simple, putting them into one verse. To memorize the whole text, they put them into one verse to understand. That is in the prayer form, or converting them into a mantra. That is the specialty of Tibetan Buddhism. The Bodhicaryāvatāra also composed with one mantra and becomes very often recited by monks. Patrul Rinpoche explained the Bodhicitta prayer. He says, Jangchup Sem Chok Rinpoche, O jewel, the best Bodhicitta, Make Baram, Make Pa Nam Ke Gyurchik, arise where it has not yet come to be. Kepa Nyampa Me Padak, where it arisen, may it never fall. Gongne Gongdu, Pel Barshop, may it grow and flourish increasingly. Well, this is only the verse, but the verse classifying the text actually the verse classifying the text into three groups. Let's see the structure of the text. The text has 10 chapters. You can see Bodhicittanusansa, Papadeshana, Bodhicitta Parigraha, Bodhisattva Shiksha, Samprajanya Rakshanam, Shanti Paramita, Virya Paramita, Dhyana Paramita, Prajna Paramita, Parinamana. So the text, the Bodhicharya has a 10 chapters, can be classified into three, mainly three, and the last one is just a conclusion part. Mainly three. The first 9 chapters can be classified into three, according to that verse which we just recited. Arise where it has not yet to be not come to be. Yeah, that is the initiation of the bodhicitta in the mind. The first 3 chapters is presenting the initiation of the bodhicitta. The second 3 chapters to dedicated to prevent the bodhicitta from being dispersed, to retain, to sustain that mind when it arises. Where it arises, may it never fall. The last three, the third three, may it grow and flourish increasingly to stimulate the intensity of the bodhicitta. And the last part, the parinamana, is just a conclusion part or dedication of prayers. This is how we can understand the text according to that verse, according to the traditional accounts, how Tibetans understand this text and how they classify the text into three groups. Arise, sustain, and increase. Okay, a verse going for refuge and the intensification of Bodhicitta. This is the famous verse. Every Tibetan in their every monastery or Vajrayana monastery especially, they recited this verse, like how we recited the Namo Tassa Bhagavato every time, or pay respect to the Buddha all the time, means recollecting his qualities. Same way, Tibetan culture develop such practices, and every practices um, concern about bodhicitta, right? This is the central theme of Mahayana, cultivation of bodhicitta. And recite this how they recite this verse, let's see in Sanskrit and then in Tibetan. बुद्धं च धर्मं च गणोत्तमं च यावद्विबोधिं शरणं प्रयामि दानादिकृत्यैश्च कृतर्मयेभिर्बुद्धो भवेयं जगतो हिताय बुद्धं च धर्मं च गणोत्तमं च यावद्विबोधिं शरणं प्रयामि दानादिकृत्यैश्च कृतर्मयेभिर्बुद्धो भवेयं जगतो हिताय बुद्धं च धर्मं च गणोत्तमं च यावद्विबोधिं शरणं प्रयामि दानादिकृत्यैश्च कृतर्मयेभिर्बुद्धो भवेयं जगतो हिताय. This is the Sanskrit verse. In Tibetan, they say, Sange chodang choki chonamla, Jangshuk bhardu dagni kapsuchi, Dakki jinsung give sonam ki, Drola fenchi Sange druvarsho. This is the same exact meaning as per the Sanskrit verse. So, what is the meaning of verse? A verse. This is the verse uh, brought from the Abhisamaya Lankara Sutra, and the verse called Sharanagamana Chittutpada Gatha. So, what is the Bodhicitta? What is the meaning of this verse? I take refuge in the Buddha Dharma, the noble Sangha, until awakening by doing good, beginning with generosity. May I become a Buddha for the benefit of the world. This is the this is the concept of Bodhicitta. Bodhicitta means one day you will become a Buddha by doing generosity and so on, and so other paramitas. Until that, I am taking refuge in the triple gems. This is the Mahayana style of going for refuge. In Shravakayana, one take refuge until the life he is alive, until attending Nibbana. But Mahayana take refuge until the Sammasambodhi. Then etymological aspect of the word bodhicitta. The chitta means mind, thought, and attitude. The bodhi, on the other hand, means enlightenment, awakening, and cognate with the term Buddha itself. Bodhi itself is the Sammasambodhi they are talking about. However, there are three types of bodhi are there: Shravaka bodhi, Pacheka bodhi, Sammasambodhi. Here, they talk about the ultimate Buddhahood, that is the Sammasambodhi. The Bodhicitta is the awakened mind, or the mind of enlightenment, we can say. The attitude of mind that tends towards Buddhahood, the, the enlightened state. It should be noted that bodhicitta is not a synonym for compassion. It is a broader term in which compassion is implied. I hope you understand the basic concept of bodhicitta and what is bodhicitta stands for. There are so many beautiful verses in Bodhicaryāvatāra. I cannot write everything in this PPT, but in first chapter there are many important and beautiful uh, verses are there. I hope that verses would be enough for you to study this text, to read this text. My intention is only here is that to motivate others to read the Bodhicharya Avatara, right? So let's read the verses. Uh, those who wish to crush the many sorrow of existence, who wish to quell the pain of living beings, who wish to have experience of mighty joys, should never turn away from bodhicitta. If with kindly generosity one merely has the wish to soothe the aching heads of other beings, such merit knows no bounds. Right? When you started to do uh, the to help others, to have that compassion in your heart, and when you started doing or cultivating bodhicitta, the actions through bodhicitta, the merit knows no bound. The merits would be unlimited. The aim to bring the benefit of beings, a benefit that other wished not even for themselves, that this noble jewel-like state of mind arise truly wondrous, never seen before. The bodhicitta, the being who possesses the bodhicitta mind, he always uh, he does not preference give preference to him, right? He always there for others, and that is why Shantideva says that this is the mind I never seen before. This is the unique one. This is the noble jewel you should have in your heart. That is the bodhicitta. People praises as virtuous donors those who with contemplate support, a few with plain and ordinary food, a moment's gift that feeds for only half a day. People praises such people who are giving donations, giving food, giving water, giving other requisites. But that momentary gift are only for a day or month maybe. But what need is there to speak of those who long bestow the countless multitudes, the peerless joy of blissful Buddhahood, the ultimate fulfillments of their hopes? So, how can we compare such mundane gifts than the achieving of the Buddhahood for the beings of, for the all sentient beings? That is why he constantly saying that the merits born from this bodhicitta is abundant, right? Unlimited. Uh, from the eighth chapter, the verse, I think this is my favorite one, and the Shanti Deva says the reason of all suffering and what is the happiness. How can be happy? Happiness. How can one experience happiness? Can brought happiness in his life, in his or her life? All the joy the world contains has come through the wishing happiness for others. All the happiness comes from happiness, wishing happiness for others. And all the misery, on the other hand, the world content has come through wanting pleasures from oneself. right? Which is the egocentric attitude, will always bring suffering, not pleasure. But giving joy, putting happiness in this world for others, for yourself also. If you put others happy, also there will be in the peaceful environment for your mind also. That is why all the joy of the world contains has come through the wishing happiness for others. The Bodhicitta stands for wishing happiness for others, not only for yourself but for others also. That is why the Bodhicitta is the source of all happiness, for all joy, right? Okay, let's learn this very important text, how it travels to Tibet, some historical background. Let's see. The text Bodhicaryāvatāra was transmitted to Tibet in the 8th century CE from manuscript of Kashmir. The Shantideva recited the text, but that time there were panditas, 500 panditas were there. Some of them uh, memorized what Shantideva is saying, and they written down the Bodhicaryāvatāra, right? And output is the two editions were published that time, the Mathura editions and the Kashmir editions. But Mathura editions, I think they did not found. I'm not sure, but they they found the Kashmir edition. According to the tradition accounts, when Shantideva gives the teachings and his discourse is written down and published into two editions, Magadha editions and the Kashmir edition. The present text, the Bodhicaryāvatāra, translated from a Kashmir manuscript, the Sanskrit version. That is the only Sanskrit version of text come across as a whole, and that version of a text translated by Indian master Sarvajña Deva and Tibetan translator Gava Pelchek. Later, it revised in 11th century CE by Pandita Dharma Shri Bhadra and the translator Rinchen Sangpo, based on a manuscript and the commentary from Magadha. A final revision was made by the Pandita Sumati Kirti, and the translator Loden Sherab. In the 11th century CE, there were new trend of dissemination of Buddhism, or Buddhism that time trending in Tibet during 11th century CE. That result considerable number of translations are prepared. For correctness of translation, the team of translation, an Indian and a Tibetan, do revise and correct the text. All the Sanskrit texts were reviewed and revised with the collaboration of Indian and Tibetan translators. Tibetan always translate the Indian text with the Indian scholar or any other scholar of the text. They do not do translation alone. Just before I said that Tibetan memorize everything with the verse, and uh, they also remember the lineage of this Bodhicaryāvatāra in verse. Okay, you on screen you're seeing the 424 masters taught the Shantideva, the lineage of Shantideva, how the Bodhicaryāvatāra now available us today. This is the verse. The first, you know, the Bodhicaryāvatāra has been transferred to Shantideva by the Manju Ghosh. Manju Ghosh is the Bodhisattva Manjushri, to Shanti Deva, to Jetare, then Chandra Kirti, Gunashri, Kanakashri, Sumati Kirti. Then the Tibetan master started to receive the teachings from teachings of Bodhicaryāvatāra. This is the lineage of this text. How the Tibetans interpreted the text. For interpreting the text, Tibetans wrote treatises on it by Tibetan scholars and author names along with their treatise name as follows. There are many masters because the the Bodhicaryāvatāra become the syllabus of Tibetan monasteries. It is one of the crucial texts for monastic students to understand the Buddhist teachings of Mahayana side. Yeah, to teach them with meaning, with proper meanings. Many masters written commentaries on it. Right? These are the main. There are more than this. There are many, but this I have found main or most popular commentaries by Tibetan masters. Uh, yeah. This is the Patrul Rinpoche endeavors and compassion for lay people. Just I said now that the Bodhicaryāvatāra has been taught only to monastics, but the Patrul Rinpoche is the first monastic leader who taught the Bodhicaryāvatāra to lay people first time out of compassion, right? He knows the value of the Bodhicaryāvatāra, and out of compassion he wanted to teach lay peoples. So he started teaching outside of the monastery first time. The Bodhicaryāvatāra has been studied by Tibetans for more than 1,000 years. You can see the lineage, you can already saw the lineage. They say that Tibetans learning the Bodhicaryāvatāra for more than 1,000 years, praised and respected by many Tibetan masters. Patrul Rinpoche is one of the most influential Tibetan experts who prioritizing pri- prioritized Bodhicaryāvatāra. He taught the text to Tibetan monks and lay people. Traditionally, the text used to study in the monasteries. Therefore, the knowledge and the insight of the text are restricted within the boundaries of monastery. Patrul Rinpoche, however, became the first master who set up to teach Bodhicaryāvatāra to the public. It is challenging to grasp the profound meaning of the text for non-scholastic person. So Patrul Rinpoche explains the verses with simple words and constantly repeats the reading with proper understanding and with relevant story as well as examples. Due to his endeavors, the text gained its importance across East Tibet. Because of his endeavors, this text became famous in East Tibet. East Tibet. Whenever the Tibetan monks were teaching the text, they will constantly repeat the text again. When they end the text with when they comes to the last verse, they will not dismiss the class. Then they will start again reading the introduction of the first, and then they will stop the lectures, and on the next lecture they will start with the first lesson again. So this text is very important in their culture, right? It gives them a guidelines or a tool to cultivate or keep the bodhicitta. How the bodhicitta can be rise, can be maintained, or and increase in three levels. So this text is plays a crucial roles to develop such attitude, and that is the main teachings of the teachings of Mahayana Buddhism or Vajrayana is esoteric also. Yeah. But Bodhicitta is the uh, entrance entrance of Mahayana Buddhism. Then it gained its importance, and let's see how it developed the practices among Tibetans. Various suggestions and advices given by many Tibetan masters for practicing Bodhicaryāvatāra in daily life. They always taught how to practice this Bodhicitta in daily life. For instance, Khenpo Ape advised to choose a stanza. How they practice? They advises the Khenpo Ape advising to lay people or a practitioner to choose a stanza, any stanza, commit to practice. Think about its meaning and apply in daily life. If any whole unwholesome thought arises, simply apply this verse into practice. Eventually, what happened? A practitioner will able to memorize the verse and be able to apply such verse into practice. That is why the Tibetans always, reciting, they are practicing something because the guidelines given by their teachers, their lamas, and they constantly memorizing the text or a mantra or the keeping the teachings in their mind by reciting the mantra. Eventually, a practitioner will be able to memorize a verse and be able to apply such verse into practice. Tibetan believes that the text holds the strength to soothe the situation by taming the mind. Of course, it has the heat. It has the uh, Buddha. It has the power of Buddha's teachings, of course. And when you apply it, automatically it will soothe the situation by taming the mind. Such daily practice trains the mind to be simple, conscious of the situation, to knowing the situation, to be aware. Practicing the skillful means of patience, vigilance, heroic perseverance can overcome the suffering for some extent but not entirely. Of course, these are the only remedy, right? But the ultimate solution is the realization of emptiness, which is clearly taught in the ninth chapter, Prajna Paramita section. The realization of emptiness is the complete eradication of all suffering. That is the main teachings. The realization of emptiness. Eventually, all the teachings of the Bodhicaryāvatāra goes to the Prajna Paramita teachings. The practitioner should study as well as practice for the great benefit. Conclusion. So, Bodhisattva who take aspiration to develop an awakening mind by knowing that the arising of the Buddha is rare, human birth is rare, and bodhicitta is the supreme virtue for all other virtues. The text itself contains the essence of the Mahayana teachings and influence others to follow the path that brings great excellence to all. A practitioner is required to practice the skillful means of compassion, meditation, patience. That is basically that all basically the paramitas. However, The afflictions cannot be eradicated by it. The cultivation of wisdom is required. That is the realization of emptiness. The text Bodhicaryāvatāra represents a complete understanding of what the ideal bodhisattva should be. This is why it becomes a guideline or guide. It becomes a guide to all Tibetans or all the practitioners so that they cultivate the bodhicitta with sense. Eventually, it becomes crucial for Tibetans as their center of practice. It has integrated the requirement of an ideal bodhisattva. To comprehend the teachings, the Tibetan scholar wrote treatises on it, especially regarding to perfection of wisdom. On the other hand, Tibetan masters, out of compassion, taught the Bodhicaryāvatāra to lay people so they also get the chance to listen the profound teachings of the Buddha Dharma. Eventually, the text becomes essential instruction tool for all Tibetans. Hence, Tibetan develop rituals or mantras practices which always align with the cultivation of the bodhicitta. The concept of bodhicitta is not only found in the Mahayana or later Buddhism, but also can be traced in the early Buddhist teaching at the Ayyachitta. Yeah, it is mentioned by Akira Hirakawa in his book Indian Buddhism, a bibliographical survey, the bibliographical survey of Indian Buddhism. Uh, so in his book, he said that there is a one word, Anya Chitta, and can be traced in later Buddhism as Bodhicitta. So early Buddhism has the teachings of Bodhicitta, but they do not call the Bodhicitta as a Bodhicitta, but Anya Chitta, the known mind or the knowledgeable mind. Yes, I hope you understand all these things. I hope you get the idea of bodhicitta. It's important how the Bodhicaryāvatāra helps to understand the teachings and how the Bodhicaryāvatāra develops such practices among practitioners, especially Tibetans, and how this takes more than 1,000 years alive and keep practicing by Tibetans till now. Right, many commentaries were written down on this text, and how a text is important for all to to make this world better for all sentient beings. Yes, these are the references, and this text is available to read in Sanskrit, in Tibetan, in translation, online available. You can read. These are the references. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. That is so wonderful. Thank you.
Yes.
And so, first of all, I would like to apologize for the mistake I made at the beginning. I said the author was Ashutosh
Oh, yeah.
was the one who wrote Soundarananda Kavya and
Yeah.
uh, and also Buddha Charita. Yes,
Buddha
and,
Charity.
yeah, and this one, yes, Shanti Deva, Acharya Shanti Deva's book, Bodhicaryāvatāra.
Yes,
I
sir.
think within this short period of time,
Yeah.
you hopefully did justice to the gravity of this text, which
Yeah.
is a very important text in Buddhist Sanskrit literature. So, thank you again. So, when it comes to the text, um, the main concern is about the bodhicharya, right?
Bodhi
About
Charity.
the bodhicitta, in fact.
Bodhicitta, yeah.
So bodhicitta is something that we don't normally find in the Theravada tradition. But bodhicitta is a really important concept in the Mahayana Buddhism.
Yeah.
Do you want to compare that something with the maybe paramita concept or or the Buddha, um, something with the Bodhicitta?
Actually, Bhante, that is Bodhicitta mainly concerned about the, uh, you know, having that mind, having that wish that all beings may be free from suffering. That is the main wish, and that brings the Bodhi mind.
Mm.
Even in Jataka Nidana, if you read, you will find that the Sumedha, I don't know, Sumedha, what is it, Tapas something. When Siddhartha Gautama, at very early stage, when he met Dipankara Buddha, when he
Yeah,
saw
yeah, yeah,
Dipankara
yeah.
Buddha,
Mm.
he said that, may I become Buddha like him.
Mm.
For and how he is guiding people, may I become like that. May I also bring such happiness in this world. That initial thought is the starting point that Buddha is going to born in future
Mm.
lives.
Mm.
So Bodhicitta rated to that. I think Bodhicitta is brought from the early teachings, right? Even Hiraka Hajime Nakamura also, he's saying in his book that the Bodhicitta concept can be seen in early Buddhism as the Anya Chitta. Anya Chitta is the known Chitta, right? And there is one dissertation also written by our Sri Lankan monks and represented in the Hong Kong University, how he interpret the Bodhicitta, uh, or how he is tracing the Bodhicitta in the Pali literature.
Mm.
But unfortunately, that dissertation was not available to me.
Mm.
But anyway, he did the
Do you
work.
remember the name of the monk?
Uh, I, I have that. I have his picture with his registration title. I will
Mm.
share with you one thing.
Mm. Mm. Okay. So, okay, so bodhicitta, the mind of the bodhi, or the one, the bodhisattva,
Yeah.
right? So the intention of the bodhisattva. Yeah, I think that makes more sense. Bodhicitta, it is said like every one of us has the bodhicitta.
Yes.
We have the potential to become Buddha, right?
Mhm.
So every one of us is an aspiring Buddha.
Yes.
One day, if you want to decide, I want to be perfectly enlightened Samma Sambuddha, or the Pacheka Buddha, or the Arahanta Buddha, you have the opportunity. Yeah. So, in the Mahayana tradition, I think they give so much priority to the Samma Sambuddha, Pacheka Buddha, and Arahanta Bodhi are not that much encouraged. So this one, Bodhicitta, is particularly related to the Buddha, right?
Yes. Yes.
Hmm. Okay, so what chapters does he discuss about this concept of Bodhicitta?
The initial three chapters, Bhante, if you look the structure of the text, the initial three chapters mainly concern about the giving rise to the bodhicitta, right? The bodhicitta anusansa, first chapter, it talks about the benefit of rising the bodhicitta, why it is important to give rise to the bodhicitta, how it is beneficial for you, for all, and all the sentient beings. Yeah. So initial three chapters.
Mhm. Okay, so the other question, like I saw you also citing the Tibetan translation, and I
Yes.
think you mentioned that it is one of the most revered texts in the Tibetan Buddhist culture. And so that means, does it have the same respect from the other schools of Mahayana Buddhism?
Uh, uh, I don't think so. But the Tibetans pay respect to this text. I think I did not saw in other sect actually Mahayana
Hmm.
that this is this that much respected.
Hmm.
Maybe, but I am not aware of that.
Hmm. Okay, that's an interesting question because It was originally written in Sanskrit, and I'm sure some of those Mahayana traditions must have adapted this text, or must have studied, or learn more about this, or probably practiced too. And because it was written by Acharya Shantideva, and not a Tibetan,
Master.
particularly Tibetan scholar.
Yeah.
So I personally think there should be somewhere related to some other Mahayana schools of Buddhism too. But yeah, and it talks about the bodhicitta, and it talks about the importance of having that pure intention of, achieving enlightenment, and then helping, rescuing the many other suffering sentient beings, right?
Yes.
So is the bodhicitta particularly important in Tibetan Buddhism, as far as your knowledge is concerned? I mean, in comparison to other Mahayana traditions?
Actually, both the concept of bodhicitta highly praised equally in all Mahayana traditions.
Hmm.
But if you talk about the Bodhicaryāvatāra practice, then the Tibetan traditions highly praise the Bodhicaryāvatāra compared to other Mahayana sects.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm. Okay. Okay, so thank you so much. And I
Yes.
think Bodhicaryāvatāra should be a book that is available, the
Yes.
translation into English. And I found many translations actually. I know, like in Sri Lanka, we have the singular translation.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and also,
Mm.
yeah, Sri Lanka was having a very powerful Mahayana traditional
Mm.
school. So, like
Mm.
Abhayagiri School
Yeah.
of Buddhism, and then also some other schools. Um, Mahayana tradition was existent. So probably we have been learning this, practicing this, or studying this thing across the other schools of Buddhism too, like in Theravada Buddhism, like in even today, Theravada monastics, they study this one in our traditional
Oh.
monastic education system. This
Oh.
is a very important text. Saundarananda Kavya, Buddha Charitam, and
Mm.
the Bodhicaryāvatāra, and even in Sri Lankan universities and other places, we still study the
Mm.
text. So I think it's a very, really, really important text. It gives us an opportunity to how I remember somewhere in the text, like he says, like he is ready to sacrifice his entire body and soul for the benefit of the others. I don't know if you remember the location, but yeah,
Mm.
there is a place where this idea is explained, highlighted, and it's really, really an interesting text. And yeah, do you remember something that is more um, um, more what do you call, highlighted with the bodhicitta, or something that is more one of your favorite stanzas, for example?
The more favorite stanza is that is the how the happiness can be brought in this world. That is the helping others. Uh, by helping others, we can bring joy in this world. And what is the reason of all the suffering is this self or the egocentric mind.
Mm,
That is the reason of all kinds of suffering.
mm,
But the altruistic mind, the bodhisattva's mind, is the joy of all, bring joy in this world. That is the main reason. So the Shantideva was saying, what are you waiting for? the try to give rise to this bodhicitta is going to bring many joy in this world, and the merits is uncountable merits. So that is the, you know, the main or the motivation or the favorite stanza of Bodhicaryāvatāra given by Shantideva.
Hmm. Yeah, I remember also there is another concept, like I think it is the Shitigarba. Uh,
Shridigarbha,
yeah,
yes.
like he said, until and unless the last sentient being in the hell realm is rescued, I'm not going to be,
With
liberated myself. I don't want to have enlightenment until the last hell being is rescued.
wow.
Such an awesome concept, very powerful teaching, in fact, how they have dedicated their life and energy for the well-being and happiness of the others, and how the Buddha's teaching of Paratacharya, like
Uh,
how we can Paratacharya in Sanskrit. So how we should dedicate ourselves for the well-being and happiness of the many, for the benefit of the many. And Buddha's first message, as I mentioned, how we all um, monastics and also the other people should
hmm,
help the other, not being so selfish. Like in the world today, we see lots of things, as you mentioned, because of their ego, because of their selfishness, and because of their greedy attachment, craving, and all these things. Like people have become very selfish. And even during the pandemic, we learned this lesson. Like we can't be selfish anymore. We have to be concerned about the others. I hope this particular discussion of this book, Bodhicaryāvatāra, um, give an idea to our audience, and whosoever study this thing, they should learn something. Take this beautiful message with you, and it's about the helping others,
yes,
not being so self-centered, not being so egocentric, being humble and being simple, and suppressing your ego.
yes,
That can make our life more meaningful, and also we need to make this world more beautiful somehow. Yeah. Ashutosh, do you have any closing remark before we conclude the session today?
no, just start to read this beautiful text. That's all, and practice it. I think it is a beautiful Sanskrit Buddhist text, and it is available. And just learn the other Buddhist teachings. I mean other uh, texts also, which aims on such beautiful teachings. That's all. Yeah.
One last question, like, would you be
Yes.
able to send us the PDF of this presentation so that
One thing
we
I already
can,
seen you.
yeah, okay, we can publish it in our website
Okay.
for our audience. They can also take a look.
Yeah, of course,
And
Bhute.
yeah, thank you so much for this wonderful sharing of this your wisdom on this all important Mahayana text, Bodhicaryāvatāra. And I personally feel very happy to hear about this after such a long time. I even confused with the author's name.
No, it's okay.
Yeah, and yes, so to cultivate bodhicitta,
Hmm.
to be like a Buddha, how important it is to learn more from these things. When you read through this text, you feel like so happy and so inspiring. I noticed that those days even I felt very happy to read this text.
Yes.
And thank you again, and thank you again, all those people who join us today. And we have Indika, Tushari and some of the Facebook
Yes, yes,
people,
yes.
and Priyangi and Sukuma, Hema, and Poonam, and some other Facebook friends, and also Venerable Chandima from San Jose. I met him recently, and Virendra Pratapal, maybe some of
Yeah,
you.
one of my students.
Okay, so they also send their appreciation to your wonderful session, and thank you again. And we are looking forward to meeting you again with another topic
Yes,
in
for
future.
sure.
And
Yes,
may the blessings of the Buddha Dhamma Sangha be with you always. May you always be well, happy, and healthy, safe wherever you are. And also, thank you again for our friends who join us, and also whosoever watch this program later. May you also be benefited, and may you be able to be guided towards the right path, to be a better human being, to be a wonderful bodhisattva, so that we can help others. We can rescue many suffering beings, many people who need our help. We can be a wonderful Kalyana Mitra eventually. And may all of us be guided towards the right path with the blessings of the Buddha Dhamma Sangha. And looking forward to seeing you all with another session like this every Thursday. And with that, we conclude. Thank you. Good night. And may you all be well, happy. Sadhu, sadhu.
sadhu, sadhu. Thank you, Mante.
Thank you.